you know, medium amounts of success. I think, well, honestly, with like every like soft target we're talking about, it feels very, very flimsy, and maybe even like I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, when I'm trying to find these soft targets, it feels like I'm putting words in the players' mouths in terms of what they're actually trying to do, whereas I think more so it's just decks that they think are good for the most part, because blitzchung, as you said, it has definitely been his pet deck on this Fell Demon Hunter, even when the entire rest of the player base in Grandmasters has moved over towards this hybrid OTK brute Demon Hunter. He still believes in the power of this deck, which I do disagree with. I don't think it's as potent as the other versions that are available. But as you said, with a very high standard of play he's been bringing forward, maybe that can make up for what I perceive to be a slightly suboptimal deck.
May be indeed. Surrender himself going for the priest ban because he is also bringing a druid, a very similar strategy to Gur, but not running that mage and has a demon hunter instead. And of course his build of the druid is a bit different, but the handlock is still coming out to play here. And versus Garrote Rogue, we have traditionally called this a good matchup for the rogue, but I think the kind of mindset for handlock players has evolved now to just making one big insurmountable board, multiple flesh giants at once with a cult neophyte to top off. Usually that's too much for rogue to deal with, and that type of game plan is definitely aided by the inclusion of the runed mithril rod. Surrender hasn't hit it quite yet, but he does have access to laying down threats as early as now with the gold charnel. I don't particularly think it's bad because he can go for the backfire as well, right?
Well, next turn, he can't play the backfire with it on this turn. If he goes for backfire, though, I think he ends up overdrawing a card, which is not bad at all, necessarily. Overdrawing cards is a very common occurrence with this handlock, given the amount of draw you have. But it is just obviously a little bit less immediate pressure you're putting down.
Right. Sorry, I did mean backfire this turn and no next turn, my bad. The Kazakus from blitzchung is, I think, a 5 cost for this situation because he doesn't quite have a procer for the Octobot just yet, and he did take 5 costs. There's access to freeze 2. I think that would be where my head is at in terms of reactive golems.
I mean, if he took rush, you could take deal 3, as he did go for here, that equals 8 to kill off a giant.
It's just the type of thinking of, has the mindset of handlock players evolved to the point where they're just not going to play singular giants. They are going to build one big insurmountable board. Where is the greater golem good enough to deal with that? I wonder. Because if Surrender only plays a null this turn, for example, I don't know if blitzchung will think that's good enough to play the greater golem into. Probably still okay because he can then just use the dagger instead of the rush.
So many
and it does look like Surrender's turn ends up being null plus dump Mortal Coil tap.
Bit awkward, isn't it? It's 1 mana off being able to do everything you want. Like, I think at this point I would consider going Neophyte on this turn, because even though you do generally want to save Neophyte for when you're really far ahead on board to lock out your opponent from being able to react, when you have the Raise Dead in hand as well, I think that's okay, because you're very likely to be able to go Neophyte plus Giant and Null on a subsequent turn.
Yep, that does make sense as you've laid it out now, and Surrender does go for that line. blitzchung immediately hovering over the golem. Like, obviously it's not full value, but it's his only decent play here, right?
Yeah.
Because prep passage you can go for and just delete a couple minions, but if you hit spells off of that, it suddenly gets super awkward because of the Neophyte. I also think that with this hand from blitzchung, we could be looking at a field contact into prep passage type of turn.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it all just depends what comes off the top. Like, if you get a procer, maybe you can get away with just going for a contact turn with what you have in hand. But yeah, without that, I think you're absolutely right.
Surrender now access to tap Null, trade it in, and then raise that to get the Null back. That seems pretty strong.
That does sound strong. Ooh. That's interesting now, because you obviously now have access to, as you said, trade in the Null, and then you don't even have to go Raise Dead necessarily, but Raise Dead for 1 Null, 1 Neophyte actually sounds pretty good, right? That sounds like a nice distribution.
Yeah. Because Because it's nice to have all the neophytes in the world, but they're actually less efficient to play than the gnolls because his hand is so full. And Surrender, while the neophytes are good to drop and protect the big board, you have to have the big board in the first place. And getting the giant cheaper would involve finding more windows to tap, finding more hand space as well. So I do like this line.
Okay. This still works, still guarantees him, whether he wants to raise it now or later, he's guaranteed at least one neophyte, maybe two, if this one is killed on this turn. And it means that next turn, giant plus neophyte, maybe plus null as well, actually, will also be available.
The order is just very deliberate from Surrender here to hold Raise Dead, just to give himself the best chances of getting multiple neophytes. Fair enough if he feels like that can get there. There is still access to a big board even without gnolls eventually with the Baron Scavengers. If he is just drawing 2 per turn, we're looking at, I mean, potentially turn 7, giant 2 6/6s, and Occult Neophyte. But here we go from blitzchung, Contact 1 Thief, and already the train looks very awkward because of the neophyte. So it's prep passage, try to get Battlecry minions. I don't want to spend 2 on a Brain Freeze here. He could spend the prep on the Brain Freeze maybe.
So if you go prep, Brain Freeze, Secret Passage, you can still hit Org Merchant, which is the really big one, I think, to be able to protect your field contact.
He got Octobot, then it looks like he's going to try and discount that instead.
Okay, sure. Yeah, you have the second field contact, so you can get away with not discounting or not protecting your first one so heavily. Okay.
This window's big. I do think Blitzchung's next turn is probably still passage over contact because this is his last contact, right? That needs to win the game. I don't think he can get to the bottom of his deck with 18 still at this juncture. Whereas for Surrender, priority number 1 is killing contact, but the Soul Rend lets him get down the 2 Scavengers as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking at on this turn. Octobot surviving, honestly, who cares? If you want to Shadow Step that, it's not the end of the world. I would much rather get my threats down proactively.
Trying to see if waiting 1 turn would let him do the thing, play Neophytes as well, and the Flesh Giant, and whether that's worth taking a turn off to do everything at once.
That's fair, yeah.
Because obviously you can raise that now, best chance at double Neophyte he's ever gonna get. And if you just go Soul Rend and say Drain Soul for the full clear, next turn he would have theoretically access to Scavenger, Neophyte, and 1 Giant.
Okay. Yeah, I like the thinking. I think though this will be enough. I think it's going to be difficult to clear off these minions, and even if that is available, like Raise Dead is quite likely to get you another Baron Scavenger from here on in, and then you can go Scavenger, Flesh Giant, hope to get another Neophyte as well. It's just so much pressure.
Passage for Blitzchung hits AI. That's insane. I was going to say this is about an average. Secret Passage can't dump the Garrote, but now he's able to draw even further. The original hand had, I think, 5 cards, so he won't be overdrawing at all. And he gets to clear Scavenger with his face attack as well, which is relevant because of Battlegrounds Battlemaster.
Okay, he's getting there. He's starting to get there. His hand was looking very rough for quite a few turns, but now with the field contact, the Octobot in hand, it's looking big.
Man, the Battlemaster was the draw off the top. It wouldn't have been lethal just yet, even if he couldn't have killed the 6/6, but easily represented the 2-turn, and we know that Rogue just cannot heal, so Surrender could have just gotten there by proccing his quest even further. Looks like he's going Raise Dead, and that game plan of just playing Neophytes every single turn, it continues.
So with a tap, you complete quests. So you could go tap Neophyte Giant. Is fairly tempting.
Yeah, I like that. And that definitely sets up a board that if Blitzchung doesn't clear, Surrender is just pushing lethal with the Battlegrounds Battlemaster.
Or theoretically, you could actually go Scavenger and then Touch of the Nathrazim Giant, because that would heal you and therefore discount the Giant as well. You don't get the Disruption in, but you get to remove a minion and get a lot more stats in play. It's close.
It is close. I favor the Neophyte, but maybe that's just because I see blitzchung's hand right now, which can just get there, I think. There's 12 cards in deck, but he has second Octobot to work with. Oh god, I don't know if it's guaranteed, but obviously he doesn't really have a choice but to go in right now. There's too much threats on the other side.
He's got the preps left. Oh, one prep, sorry. That's a big one to be able to actually play a Garrot.
Big deal that he started by going for extra card draw rather than extra mana here. Played the field contact, which means that he thinks he's able to get to the bottom and complete combo as long as he hits the prep, I suppose. Other Shadow Step also necessary for Octobot here, I think.
Oh, I just don't think this gets there, to be honest. Like, I guess, like you said, if you can draw into Shadow Step, you maybe have enough mana, but he hasn't played either Garrot yet either. That still needs to be played, both of them.
Can he clear, though, if he hits the other Shadow Step here?
Fireball? Yeah, probably, actually.
Doesn't play the Fireball, though, so... Oh, he's going for Brain Freeze. Okay. Brain Freeze and Step. If that clears the board, it does. Or, well, it clears immediate damage. He will He'll take Fatigue, which is annoying, but kind of have to.
Yeah, unnecessary evil here.
Oh, he's stepping Octobot, I see. Just hoping there isn't the Battle Master.
So he's going to use Swindle next turn to draw the Garrots, but if he draws other Garrot, it's just not quite there. I mean, he's dead anyway, but yeah, a tough turn there for blitzchung. Very, very complicated combo turn. Like, I think he was right to go in. You raised a great point, though, as to the fact that he took an extra draw instead of an extra mana, which I think was incorrect in that instance. You'd much rather just have more mana available, because you have plenty of card draw in the, at the end there.
Yeah, I think so as well, with the field contact sticking around. And with Penflinger, it's essentially infinite, right?
Right,
as long as you have some spells, and he was already expecting to get prep at some point. It obviously wasn't a guaranteed lethal. The way your deck is stacked can prevent that in many different ways, but he had the potential to maybe just try and survive the turn, and then, like, in some worlds, go off with that Octobot and then go with the Garrots and Swindle next turn. We saw that that was his game plan in the end, didn't quite pan out, and that means that Surrender is going to move on now to his own Shadow Priest, and this is already looking like a bit of a struggle for blitzchung, because while I did say that the lineup looks like it's got a soft target, at least on Shadow Priest, I just don't think Garrot fits that role very effectively.
Yeah, agreed. And this list overall just very standard stuff for the most part from Surrender, lining up into the Shaman on the other side. This is where things could get interesting, of course, because like you were saying, the soft target on Priest does look more and more apparent for blitzchung with both the Fell Demon Hunter and the Shaman that he has available, and so getting the win with this Shaman is quite crucial, I believe, for blitzchung's chances.
Yeah, I would think so as well. If he did queue up... Yeah, you're right. He did queue up the Shaman first. He's running the one Earth Elemental, which is in and out of fashion. I think if you're running into aggro decks in general, it depends which one you expect there to be more of. Should inform whether or not you run Earth Elemental. And I do think Earth Elemental is much better versus Shadow Priest than it is versus Face Hunter. So I don't hate the inclusion here. He is still running the double one makers and the overdraft one of, so what he's cut is the Dungeoneers, which means that he might not necessarily have that consistent of access towards the Canal Sloggers, but like I said before, I don't think the Slogger is nearly as important as Flame and early boards versus Priest.
And so we talk about early boards. I mean, I don't know if I'm too much of a curve gamer as blitzchung on the Shaman here, but quest into Coin Marshborn and then follow up with the Feral Spirits looked like a decent start to the game to me.
It did. maybe blitzchung is trying to find more chances at bloom, you'd have to assume. And also, I guess that line is super vulnerable to neophyte, but I do think it's above average for a keep, and I probably would have landed on it here. Blitzchung has other plans. Surrender gonna hold on to Homunculus and Attendant. I completely agree with that. Homunculus is super important versus Shaman to make sure you have a minion that's out of range of Perpetual Flame.
Okay, spicy hand for blitzchung, the kind that, of course, can pop off heavily if you find yourself a lightning bloom, especially given that you could go like note taker, bloom, earth elemental to complete the quest and get a huge taunt available. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First of all, we just need to focus on what is actually in hand for both players, which for Surrender at the moment, I mean, you have your choice of one drops, right? They all have their merit in some way.
I do believe that the Homunculus first makes sense, though, because the sooner that wakes up, the sooner you have this safety net versus Perpetual Flame. So, gonna start with that. And just drop the Tiny Fin right away. Shaman not likely to play anything in these early turns, so just push the 1. All right. He's pushing all the 1s.
Yeah.
Which become 2s.
I think we're all in here.
The hand does one thing.
It does, and you just have to push it. They kept one card, which could obviously be Perpetual Flame, but like you say, you don't really have a choice. You're all in already.
Yeah, and he's got a 1/4 anyway, so that's a bit of a safety net. Blitzchung with access to Marsh Spawn here. I like that over Note Taker Bolt because he doesn't want to be overloaded next turn. There's a flame! Oh my god.
Okay. Now we're talking. Obviously, Surrender's somewhat incentivized to trade because of that fear of Perpetual Flame. But while there is some temptation to do so, we can already, I think, just start making the arguments that it's worth it to just go all in here. You can give Divine Shield to your Attendant, I suppose, to make it as awkward as possible in terms of Perpetual Flame, and then just launch everything to the dome.
Oh, I want to kill the Marsh Spawn.
Okay.
It costs you effectively 7 damage to do so because I want to send in 2 1/1s in a thing. And
yeah.
if you put it that way, it sounds awful. So just ignore the 7 damage part. It's 2 1/1s in a ping. That's fine.
All right, yeah. If you ignore every downside of every play you've ever made, God, it's just all upside. What a great player.
But you become so immune to flame. Okay, not immune, but resilient versus flame.
Yeah.
You get 3 minions that are not able to be flamed down. And Blitzchung has no trading capability. Okay, but Surrender's on board with you.
Yes. My man.
Hang in the minion. He's halfway between.
Oh, he loves both his children equally.
Oh my god.
Oh my
You're kidding.
Lord.
That's quest completion and a full clear.
It is, right? With the bolt, it's guaranteed full clear. That's disgusting.
Oh my god, I'm throwing up in my mouth.
What do we think? How many degrees is Surrender's head going to turn around? Is he going to go full owl?
I would not want to see that. I much like this better. Roughly 60 degrees and a sour expression.
Yeah.
I think that's better.
I mean, he's thinking 1 flame. Okay, that went pretty well. And actually, because of the way that Blitzchung sequenced this can actually go wrong now, right? Because he didn't attack in with the minion first.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be attack first, bolt either the Divine Shield or the 1/4, and then...
Agreed.
And that's a full clear, for sure, right?
Yeah, I think that was a pretty strict misplay, because you could potentially end up saving 1 health on your Marsh Spawn, but that's never worth the risk, right? It's just dead to a hero power either way.
I completely agree. And now that means Blitzchung's down to 13. That's not safe.
That's not safe at all.
And he can't kill the Attendant. I mean, he can, but it takes Bloom, Bolt.
I think you do it.
Don't you just isolate it then instead? Like you remove 3 damage from the board, and it's challenged by the Note Taker. Yeah.
Yeah, if your opponent Elusias, it's still fine. They're not really getting any extra damage this way.
Are we getting top 5, bottom 5 surrender reactions this week? Oh, that's a top 5 right there. Okay.
Wow, okay. I mean, the game's still going here. Surrender is getting, what, 6 damage face this turn? Just a few pings away. Or 5 damage face, sorry. Like, it could get there.
Even if blitzchung top decks Canal Slogger, he just... like, okay. Wait a minute. Bloom, Earth Elemental, and he gets the 3/3.
Yep.
But surrender pings. But then the Void Touch isn't dead, and then blitzchung might have...
It's not dead.
Okay, it's never counter lethal just yet, but like surrender has to fit in 3 pings from this point, right?
Yes.
Being generous, like saying that the Void Touch sticks around for 2 pings.
Maybe 4. Yeah. More likely if you, like you said, lose the effect of the Attendant next turn, which is very likely. Obviously, surrender could start here with Ping Face and then Twilight Deceptor. I'm trying to think of anything really valuable has died so far, but it's mostly like 0 drops, Homunculus, Freshman. It's not premium cards.
I really think he is supposed to try and get the Auntie from Raise Dead so that he gets down to the 3 ping breakpoint if possible, because 1 ping goes face now, that's 3. Another ping with the Auntie is another 3, and even if it's dead on one of those last turns, he can ping again for 2 for the full 8. So because he can't curate the Raise Dead pool cleanly enough, though, I wonder if it's ever just like Neophyte Twilight. I mean, Neophyte Wriggling Horror Ping face, just make the most annoying board possible and draw max from the Voracious Reader. He might just get to the other Auntie by that point. But the thing is, he's just never getting through this board, right? So he's got to ping face,
Never.
I think.
Yeah. It's always ping face here, I agree.
And pray there's no Canal Slogger. Also, blitzchung's overloaded for 1 billion.
Yeah.
But does blitzchung just have a 2-turn setup if surrender doesn't kill anything? Because, like, that's 12 plus... It's like 15 over 2 turns, right? If the Auntie lives. I mean, 15 each turn, so it's... Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I mean, that's a disgusting top deck there. It does mean that there's no Brucan available next turn, but it just makes it so much trickier for your opponent to ever clear this board. They're just not doing it.
Yeah. But it also means that if blitzchung gets Canal Slogger next turn, surrender might just not play any minions.
Oh, true.
For it to rush into.
That's true.
Surrender still has an out if he draws the Auntie or Raise Deads it.
Right. And there's
over 2 turns.
Very little that can be done to disrupt that, right? There's only going to be 1 mana spare on the following turn with Fireheart.
Yeah. The thing is, to get the other Raise Dead now, he has to play a minion.
So,
and you can't play the Deceptor next turn because you have to ping to play the Deceptor. And if you ping before you play the Auntie, you don't have lethal. So I don't know what the line is, in short. It's a big mess.
You can play it, give it Divine Shield. It just doesn't matter. They'll always have a way to attack into it.
Yeah, okay. Surrenders taking the risk of there being Slogger just to get the Auntie. He misses on the Void Touched Attendant, which means it's all in on the board game plan again, right? So now you play all the 1-drops, ping face with the tour guide. You play the Wriggling as well, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, sure. I mean, you probably just ping the 2/2 here, right? Like, you could go for the plan of trying to get top deck Attendant still.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's still face.
Okay. You have an immediate out next turn with this.
Okay. Feral! Oh my goodness.
Good. That's so good.
That's an Onsta Feral from me. Fireheart, best thing it can get here is Overdraft? Oh wait, you can't play it. There's a Neophyte, my bad. Yeah, so it has to be Feral, I think.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to go Stormcaller plus Feral Spirits next turn. But I think you rely on the fact that you're far enough ahead on board at this point.
I think the line is Feral and then 9 to face.
Wow. That's
okay,
brave.
wait. Sorry, 7 to face for sure. I don't know if the 2/2 is killing. It probably does kill something. There's a lot of breakpoints to think about, like if there's Wriggling Horror that adds Like, this is discrete math we can do right now.
Yeah,
Surrender has 9 on board, right? You can put 14 worth of health of taunts on board. So if he gets +2 damage, like, yeah, you can actually just send everything face because he's not getting through the taunt still. So it's Auntie as the out. He did it!
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Blitzchung Omega punished this game. This should not have been anywhere close to how it turned out. That was just a straight up throw, I think, from Blitzchung, to be perfectly honest. If it attacked in a different order, guaranteed clear, no damage goes face, your opponent has no cards. Even with top deck Voracious Reader, I still think they're going to struggle to come back into that one.
I agree. It's just straight up a mechanical ordering mistake. On the Perpetual Flame, it can sometimes be a little bit tricky to identify, but you can kind of just look at it as if there is only one minion with greater than 3 health, or I guess in this case, not Divine Shield as well, then one Perpetual Flame will leave something on board. Sometimes it's just one minion, sometimes it's everything but one minion, but the other flame will then guaranteed clear everything. So all Blitzchung had to do was attack first with the Mars spawn, bolt one of those remaining above 3 health minions, and then go for the double flame. It would have been perfect unlocks as well because it was quest 1, and he would have survived. A bit of a shame to see it go down that way, but still, I think a good showcase of Surrender's understanding here. Despite all of these expressions, all of the AoE, he found an out. He went for it every single turn, pings to face, raised deads aggressively to find the Void Touched Attendant, realizing even though there is a risk into Canal Slogger, that risk, you have to take it to find the lethal in the first place, and he absolutely did, one way or another.
He did indeed, which means that we're now down to, what is it, the Anaclondra Druid here for Surrender, which is his token deck. He brought this a few weeks ago with the claw machine in addition to the Lady Anacondra. Or was it even last season that he first brought this, right? Like, this feels like ages ago.
It was this
season. It was this season. Okay, it's all blending together. It's all becoming blurry. But either way, yes, I think it's an interesting deck. We tried it a little bit. I think you were pretty unconvinced on the claw machine, to be honest, from what you saw. But it still does druidy things, right? Like, for the most part, it's serving the same purpose as most other druids.
Yeah. Obviously, the purpose of the claw machine is to have another chance at finding Lady Anacondra. It is another minion that can be discarded by Fungal Fortunes, but oh well. I mean, this deck just does not function if you do not find Anacondra, so I can understand trying to double down on the win condition. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. Like, the deck can still do things with, like, Overgrowth and then Solar and the Cenarian Ward, even without Anacondra, but it's much, much more difficult to put that together, and it's only when you hit Anacondra that you get these truly unbeatable boards, the type of boards that only apparently Hysteria can do.
Quite right. Not going to be available in this game, though, so I think if we do see that kind of an Anaclondra start, it should be a very good position for Surrender. I mean, keeping the claw machine is somewhat akin to keeping Anacondra in your starting hand, right? It at least guarantees it by turn 7, I suppose, at the latest.
Yeah, obviously much better if you get ramp, and that guarantee has an asterisk because we're looking at this Fungal Fortunes in hand for
yes, true.
Which of course at any moment has the chance of discarding Anacondra, but if you are playing scared, then you shouldn't play this Druid. You rip the Fungal anyway. Just get all the spells, get the Claw for the Anacondra, and work from there. Blitzchung with the keep on the Marsh spawn on play is not something I often see, but you can see he's just holding on to quest to make sure the Marsh spawn is active on turn 3.
Absolute genius plays right out the gate, just passing on 1, as you said, to activate the Marsh spawn. It very possibly just comes Feral Spirits on 3 anyway now, actually, just to kind of smooth out your mana curve a little bit. But still, absolutely, as you said, the correct play to guarantee as much as possible a strong couple turns.
Oh, sir, I really can't read Surrender's expressions. Oh, he looks to the left Eve when he gets the nuts. We just can't.
Well, that was a look to the right? Like that was good, correct. It's like traffic lights.
It was his left. Yeah.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Overdraft? I mean, he has Perpetual Flame in hand. I would be inclined to play around a Glowfly start from Surrender here rather than the absolute Giga Nuts.
And realistically,
you just can't play around the Giganuts, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that Hex is doing much of anything right. If they have the Anaconda, you're probably just dead anyway. I don't think there's much you can do about it.
Tell you what, Derek, the Feral Spirits means Claw Machine can't trade and die immediately.
Oh,
how about that?
You surrender. Oh, you missed it.
Of course, this is still correct from blitzchung. Spend your mana, get the quest done in an efficient manner.
Eat your heart out, Canal Slugger. This is strictly better Slogger here from the Claw Machine. Just doing what you do, but better.
Bear in mind, this Anaconda is buffed by +3/+3. Very difficult for blitzchung to chew through, even if he somehow manages to discover a torrent.
There are plenty of ways to manipulate your mana here, right? He's at 2... Oh no, 1 out of 3, right?
Yeah. So if he goes Note Taker, Bloom, Feral Spirit, he still can use the rest of the mana going investment, so you probably start investment here, and then evaluate if you are going to spend the mana on the double Bloom turn, because we could just see, like, not Note Taker this turn.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it might be not double Bloom. I think I'd rather double up on some other cards, maybe Guidance actually, for that matter. But blitzchung disagrees.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like this still now that he's picked up Guidance here.
Okay.
Even though Bloom is not high value, take note, it's just the easiest way to progress your quest.
True.
Because it literally costs nothing.
Ooh, that's not bad. I'll have both of those.
Of course you take both, but this time you're happy about it.
He picks one! Illegal!
Why?
Get him out!
He has overdraft! Why?
Out of here!
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. That does just seem kind of funky, to be honest.
It's just better to have more... I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, on the other side of the board, I'm thinking it's probably a pretty swell time to go in with the Anaconda, but it looks like Surrender's taking one more turn with his foot off the pedal here. Okay, fair enough. You're not... Yeah, it's not a necessity to go in on this turn. You can just wait until you find the Germination first.
Yeah, I like the waiting as well. And these Fungal Fortunes are just guaranteed full value, no minions left in the deck. So you can rip one now even though they cost 1 next turn. Still spend your mana this turn.
You can even Nature Studies as well if you wanted to, or just Hero Power, I guess, because Studies will likely cost 0 next turn.
Oh, I wonder though, because it looks like Surrender's just not willing to play Anaconda if he hasn't hit the Germination yet, so he's just gonna keep cycling here.
Interesting. Okay, there we go. That's a Germination and a Cenarian Ward.
Oh yeah.
I think this'll do it.
That's the goods.
Whoa, it's a good top deck though.
Yeah. I wonder if blitzchung can ever manipulate himself a lethal with Perpetual Flame and Overdraft. Like, he's already overloaded 2. Can get 2 more with
True,
Bloom.
actually, yeah.
Then there's Perpetual Draft. It probably doesn't matter because Surrender gets the Cenarian Ward this turn as well. But worth looking at.
Good thing.
So we're looking at the Solar Germination.
I think so, yeah.
Cenarian down to 2 mana. Playable. Nourish as well.
0. Oh my god, it's just so strong. You always forget how stupidly powerful it is until you see it.
Oh, yes.
Insane.
He has Solar Cenarian as well. Just looking for Germination, but if he doesn't hit it, it's fine. You just bloom it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bloom Solar Cenarian. I'm not seeing a way you can manipulate Nature Studies to do the thing, so...
I mean, the thing you could do is play Celestial alignment on this turn. You could go Bloom, Solar, Nature Studies, Celestial to be able to get it down for 5 mana. I don't think that's correct, but it's just something to consider if you think this board is big enough, given that your opponent would be overloaded on the following turn as well.
True. It is kind of like Illusia in that sense, where you don't have turns and you just use your port.
But yes, this is probably just a little bit better.
Oh, not if you get Natty.
Okay. Well, I sure wish we had a Lightning Storm here to help clear up some of these as blitzchung.
You know, the storm would have been nuts here. He actually
It would have been sick.
Yeah, like a lot, including the trades as well.
Yeah, with the overdraft as well, it would have been a fantastic card.
I wonder.
There's no 6 drop that gets him out of this. 7 drops. There's Stormwind Champion, but not really, not doing anything.
Yeah, even with everything pointed face, the overdraft wouldn't have been able to get there. Well, I suppose he's traded into the lightning bolt anyway.
And I hate to rag on blitzchung like this, especially after we talked about how we want him to end with a good season towards the ends of things.
Yeah.
But not taking 2 on guidance, you have to have a very, very good reason in the first place because you want to overload with guidance. You're not progressing your quest if you only take 1 card off of guidance. You sometimes do that after Brucon if you don't need the overload and your other card is very useless anyway. But in this instance, not only did he still have to progress quest, the other card was very likely to be useful. Like Lightning Storm, even if you don't expect an Anaconda board, they're still running Glowfly Storm. You have 1 flame, but there's no harm in having the redundancy.
No, I agree. I think, like you say, we don't want to rag on him too much because this is his swan song, his victory lap, I suppose. But it was far from his strongest performance. I think multiple plays that I think were just kind of wrong over the course of that series, which did lead to a 3-0 sweep for Surrender to close things out, who played for the most part, I think, some pretty good Hearthstone. Going for a setup turn before the obvious Anaconda, I think, was smart. Even if I was chomping at the bit to be able to... Or is it champing at the bit? I never know that expression. To be able to get the Anaconda online as quick as possible. And it does mean that he's going through 2-0. Give Please and Surrender, both of whom are pretty high up the standings, taking the wins over Lambi Series and blitzchung, both of whom are towards the bottom of the standings, which just makes this leaderboard, I think, even more exciting, as tomorrow we're going to get to see Alan and Chonsu, 2 players in dead last at the moment, who went 2-0 this week, maybe start to equalize things towards the bottom of the leaderboard.
That is true. And you know what, Derek? I think the main headline for me today is Garrote Rogue sucks. It just hasn't been winning. I can't believe it. I mean, it did get a win on a board-based game, but we just haven't seen the combo at all today, and I wonder if that is going to bode badly for the rest of the players on that deck tomorrow, but we shall see. I expect still a lot of the Brute hybrid Demon Hunter bans, still a lot of Shadow Priest coming out to play, and the different handlock versions clashing, because we do know that the Japanese contingent has brought the, well, I guess I'm not even sure if Okashinsuke is included, sorry, but Glory Possessi have the delete version, and Give Please himself has moved back to the Flesh Giant version. So interesting to see who will be reigning supreme this weekend. Might very well be Alan on the full aggro lineup, preying on the greed of some of these players. I think we have a very fun top 8 to look forward to.
I agree. I think APAC has